Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. My name is Richard West. I'm a Colorado sports fan, obviously. Today we are doing week 5 predictions for the NFL season. Now, I gotta say, I am behind on literally everything this week, so I don't have all the stats, but I think all of my opinions can carry this video and reasonably determine the predictions. What was I last week? I think 10-5-1, if I'm not mistaken. I count ties as a tie for my record, not a loss, because how the fuck are you gonna predict a tie? So let's just jump into it. Now, first of all, I want to get the bye week teams out of the way. Falcons, Steelers, Packers, and Bears all not playing this week, so fans of those teams we will see all next week. But for the first one, a Thursday night game, 49ers versus Rams. This is happening hopefully tonight if I can get this video out on time. If not, it'll be probably Saturday night. 49ers are 3-1, Rams are also 3-1. Division game, Thursday night football, love it. 49ers 5th in yards, 23rd in points, 6th in yards allowed, and 7th in points allowed. Rams 4th in yards, 13th in points, 9th in yards allowed, and 10th in points allowed. Good in literally every single category. Now, when you look at those defensive stats for the Rams, 9th in yards allowed and 10th in points allowed, that's huge because that's post Philly. That's after their game against the Eagles, which they lost. And let's not forget, almost won. The Eagles weren't really heating up, so they weren't taking it out on them like that, but still. And then we look at the 49ers, and their situation is a little less favorable. First of all, they're the away team this week. Purdy, last time I checked, is questionable going into this game, which means even if he plays, it's just not a good sign that he's getting injured so much. He was injured at the end of last season, beginning of this season, now again. Kittle is out on IR. CMC, I think, is still in, still healthy. And last time I checked, going into this game, Ricky Pearsall questionable, Jennings questionable, and Brendan Ayuk ruled out. And then even though the 49ers have relatively good stats here, 5th in yards, 6th in yards allowed, 7th in points allowed, and 23rd in points, which is the worst one, all of those are against super weak opponents. Going into this season, pretty much everybody knew that the 49ers had one of the weakest schedules, so it's just not really looking good for them. I'm not going to linger on it anymore. Rams, have anybody paying attention could tell that they're the stronger team in the division. First Sunday night matchup, we got the Vikings back in the USA versus the Browns. Vikings are 2-2 on the season. Browns are 1-3. Vikings 23rd in yards, 10th in points, 7th in yards allowed, and 10th in points allowed. Browns 27th in yards, 31st in points, 1st in yards allowed, and 24th in points allowed. Now, I want to say the Vikings have won big against a bad Bengals defense with Jake Browning, and then they lost to the stronger Pittsburgh defense. However, it was only by 1 score, and really the loss came down to just horrible game management. That final drive just looked terrible. So we're at the point now where they probably could win against good defenses. They can definitely win against bad ones. This could be a big prove yourself game for them, and I wouldn't let the loss from last week define them. As for the Browns, I mean, if the Browns can beat injured Minnesota, you know, not having their quarterback in, they can prove that Green Bay wasn't a fluke, then I will believe in them a little bit more. But it's just like right now, one any given Sunday type win against a Green Bay offense that I really wasn't too hyped about in the first place, it's just not enough to me to prove that they're good and that they can actually compete. Joe Flacco recently, I think, was announced to be benched. Dylan Gabriel is going to be in, so that gives me a little bit more confidence and I think could spark something. But I mean, you know, 27th in yards, 31st in points, 24th in points allowed, and then 1st in yards allowed. As far as I'm concerned, they're only good in one category. That's it. So I'm going to go with Vikings. Next up, we got Cowboys, Jets. Cowboys are 1-2-1. The Jets are 0-4. I cannot believe that. Cowboys 1st in yards somehow, 5th in points somehow, 32nd in yards allowed, and 31st in points allowed. Like I've been saying, Cowboys have one of the worst passing defenses in the entire league. It's just terrible. Jets 21st in yards, 19th in points, 20th in yards allowed, and 28th in points allowed. Also statistically terrible. The Jets have such a good thing going for them on offense. It's just, I think even Jets fans are saying, you know, Justin Fields doing great, offense is trying, defense just sucks. So like with Cowboys 1st in yards, 5th in points, they could absolutely just dominate the Jets here with how surprisingly weak their defense is looking. But I mean, also, like, both defenses are bad, so I'm not really sure. I want to sit here and say that every single team in the league has exposed the Dallas passing defense, but at the same time, you could say that with the Jets too. Now here's the thing. Jets are coming off Justin Fields being injured, and then he was in the Dolphins rivalry game. So his first game back was a pretty important one, and he was trying, you know, a lot of stupid fumbles from him and Braylon Allen. Both of these are dysfunctional teams in basically the same situation right now. Cowboys have proven that they can win more. I should be going with them, but I'm gonna go with the Jets just because I really want Justin Fields to get over the hump, and I really think he can. All right, then we get the Giants versus Saints. Giants 1-3, Saints Saints 0-4. Again, these are two teams where I'm just like barely interested anymore. The only redeeming thing is that Dable has already put Jackson Dart in, and they are coming off an electric win against the Chargers. Dart looks good, exactly like I've said. You know, the team just automatically got better on offense without Russ under center. Everyone is starting to kind of realize that this guy is not a Hall of Fame quarterback. His whole personality, his whole persona is fake. He's a toxic individual behind the scenes. He uses raised money from his charity that was supposed to go towards like sick kids. He uses it to fund his own pockets. So overall, the Giants are just looking better. They could go 2-3 here. Saints 0-4. Their record is just totally accurate and reflective of the level of play from that team this season, which sucks because they too have so much talent. Offensively, they have so many weapons and they just keep coming up short. A lot of these are close games. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Rattler is great. He's playing great. They could expose the weaker Giants defense. I would not be surprised if this was, you know, where they got their first win when everyone is kind of expecting, you know, the Giants, Jackson Dart going into his second game. But a weak team like the Saints, I do think is the perfect follow-up game for Jackson Dart and the Giants. So I got to give it to the Giants. All right, then we got Raiders versus Colts. Raiders are 1-3. Colts are 3-1. Raiders 18th in yards, 24th in points, 21st in yards allowed, and 22nd in points allowed. I did not expect them to be bad like that this season. Colts 3rd in yards, 4th in points, 17th in yards allowed, and 12th in points allowed. Look good in every single category. It's actually great. I could sit here and criticize the Colts for not winning against the Rams when they could against weaker teams and say like, oh, they've been exposed, they're frauds, whatever. But ultimately, that's not going to change how I determine and predict who's going to win this one, because the Raiders are just terrible in every aspect right now. So, and I also would like to wait a little bit before I say that the Colts can't win against good teams. And I do say that knowing that they faced us, obviously, we did not look good. But I'm going to hold off. I'm going to hold off because if that becomes a pattern of them just losing against good teams, then that matters. But until then, the Rams thing could just be a fluke. Rams are a tough team, so we'll see. I'm going to go with Colts for now. Then we got the Dolphins versus the Panthers. Dolphins 1-3, Panthers 1-3. Didn't expect them to be at the same level here, but all right. Panthers still suck. I don't know what this hype was at the end of last season, beginning of this season. Who do people think these players are? The coaching staff, the ownership. It's the exact same team. It's the exact same team. It doesn't matter who you switch in and out, especially when they're still making the stupidest mistakes possible, like trading away Adam Thielen. What the hell is that? He literally stayed specifically for you, didn't retire so that he could continue training the receivers, helping the team along, and then you just discard him. What the f? The Dolphins fought hard in the Bills loss. It was actually pretty close for a minute there, and then they just won another division game against the Jets. The Dolphins have proven that they can put points up. I do not think there's any question here. All right, then we got the big one, the terrifying one, Broncos versus Eagles. Broncos 2-2, Eagles 4-0. Broncos 9th in yards, 16th in points, 10th in yards allowed, and 2nd in points allowed. Holy shit, we actually look good in every category. Why did I not know that? Eagles 30th in yards, 7th in points, 22nd in yards allowed, and 16th in points allowed. Now, I believe all of our players are healthy going into this game. They were last week. So with that and the fact that it's Bengals and where they're at right now, and the fact that we were at home and all that stuff, there was the whole alternates hype where, you know, I'm going to say it, this combination, it's inferior. White helmets are better. The contrast is nicer. We had almost this exact same look for decades. I'm tired of it. What a waste. But yeah, with all that, I mean, it's no surprise that we beat the Bengals like that. I would have loved to have beaten them even more so, like the Vikings did with the backup quarterback. So I'm not going to get too hyped over that. We're still 2-2. We could easily go 2-3 here, and I'm not super hyped about that. Now, the Eagles, you know, I think everyone's saying that this is going to be a trap game and everything like that because the Broncos should be 4-0, whatever. But the Eagles have been, I don't know if you've noticed, they've been perfect at denying trap games. So I don't see why it wouldn't be extremely easy for them to continue that pattern here. I don't know. I want to beat good teams. I want to beat good teams before I get too hyped about this. I will be so hyped about this team forever if we can beat them. If we can, awesome. Here's the best case scenario. Denver could go into it. Coaching staff could be treating this like their most important game of the regular season. This could be the one where they paid the most attention offensively, defensively, just like worked at it so hard because they know they need to. Denver has been known to be blitz heavy, which would be helpful against the Eagles offensive line, but last week they actually switched it up by a lot. They were not rushing, they were dropping back a lot, and that switch really helped us win the game. So I think there's probably going to be a good balance in terms of blitzing just to test it and playing heavy zone. I mean, the Eagles and their fans have been complaining that, you know, their receivers aren't getting the ball, Jalen's not getting to air it out. So with that, I mean, they could heat it up and really like give it to us, but also they could continue that pattern. And, you know, even with Riley Moss being targeted and giving up like huge gains, unfortunately, he only gave up 2 big completions last week, actually. But regardless, even with with that and the whole controversy and everyone hating on Riley Moss, even with that, with the Eagles struggling to pass it downfield, that could be an advantage, you know, even more locked down, make them even more nervous over the course of the game to pass. For this one, I really want to win it. I don't think that we will, but I have to support my team. I'm going to go with the Broncos. And if we lose this one, I'm just going to be more selective in big matchups. We've proven we can beat non-competitive teams. I would really love to start that with actual competitors. All right, then we got Texans versus Ravens. Texans are 1-3. Ravens are 1-3 as well. Two teams that have been struggling for two very different reasons. I mean, Ravens just can't pull a whole game together. I can't remember if Lamar Jackson's out. The Texans really just can't get it together on offense. They had a good game last week where in the second half they just really started to heat up against the Titans, but it's against the Titans, so I don't know. I'm just gonna be anti-intellectual for this one and just say if Lamar Jackson's out, I'm gonna give it to the Texans, and if he's in, I'm gonna give it to the Ravens. All right, Titans Cardinals, we have a mid off here. I really don't care about this matchup at all. I mean, Titans 0-4, Cardinals a very deceptive 2-2. I'm gonna give it to the Cardinals just because they're the more experienced team with the veteran quarterback, more consistent weapons. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. has been a lot better. Trey McBride has consistently been good for years. I think Kyler Murray could use his legs more in this one. I don't know. Cardinals, I just don't care. All right, then we got Bucks Seahawks. This is going to be a great one. Seahawks at home, Bucks 3-1, Seahawks 3-1. This is seriously going to be such a tough game. I have no idea who to choose here. This might be the toughest matchup to predict. I'm going to go with the Seahawks just because, like I said, I think they're Super Bowl contenders. We got the same record here. Bucks are coming off a disappointing loss against a tough Eagles team. It was actually a pretty close game. I think Seahawks in their stadium. I think the Seahawks in their stadium, their momentum, their continued success. I mean, all of the Bucks wins and like all of their, you know, it's either been against bad teams or it's been really close games. And you could say the same about the Seahawks. I mean, going up against the 49ers week 1, you know, you never know. Like I said, I don't have the stats for all these. I would probably use those to prove my point here, but man, I don't know. Baker has a lot of weapons, but man, that Seattle defense and just the consistency on offense, all the weapons they got. I'm gonna go with Seattle. All right, then we got Lions, Bengals. I'm not gonna bother. Lions. All right, then we got the Redskins versus the Chargers. Are these both teams coming off a loss right now? Yeah, Washington lost to the Falcons. I don't know what's going on with Washington. I'm surprised that the Chargers lost last week against the Giants. I don't know. I had such I was so doubtful and then so hopeful. I don't know where I stand with Washington. I feel like no matter what I choose, I could be wrong on them any given week. I think the Chargers losing was any given Sunday for them. Like it was a sign of success for the Giants, but it was any given Sunday for the Chargers. They just looked a little bit off, and also I think they just also simply didn't know what to expect with Jackson Dart going into it. So I think they'll be able to game plan for this one. They're going to be at home. I think Chargers probably go 4-1. All right, then we got Patriots, Bills. Patriots coming off a big win against the Panthers. It's the Panthers, who cares? Gonna give it to the Bills. Still undefeated. They're gonna continue to be so after this week. At home, division game. I don't see how there can be any other outcome. All right, Chiefs versus Jaguars. Jags are at home. Chiefs are coming off, is it 2 wins? They're 2-2. Jags are 3-1. Again, I'm not gonna get too hyped about the Chiefs stuff. I think there was kind of a flag thing. There was an uptick last week against the Ravens that was like really pissing Ravens fans off. So they might be heating up the Kansas City refs. I'll just revert back to default here. If the Jaguars are going up against the Kansas City Chiefs, I think the Jags are gonna win. If they're going up against the Kansas City refs, who do we think is gonna win? And yeah, that is it for this short week with 4 teams on their bye. So we will see. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. That is the video. Thank you for watching.